It's time for bookkeeping, beer, and BS.
I don't want to oversimplify it, but there are some people who I just don't think they truly believe they're a good boss or a good leader. And they're like the fear of like, I'm not going to be able to hire somebody, and they just get shut down. And then when unemployment's low, good A players, they can smell like a bad leader. They can feel it. And if your interview process isn't dialed in, you're just not going to get somebody, because they're going to, people, especially in the blue collar world, technicians, they want to work at a place they feel safe. They see themselves in the future. They don't want to have to keep going from job to job to job. And if somebody is anxious, trepidatious, not confident in the interview process, that I feel is breaking it more than anything else. Because there's still, I know there's a labor shortage, but there's a lot of people in the trades and services right now doing work within 5 miles of where you are. So why are there hundreds of people working within 10 miles of you right now, but you can't find those people? Yes, it is short. Like I said, I don't want to oversimplify it, but a lot of it I think it's on the owners. And so my coaching, whether it's Click, Call, Sell, or Conquer, I really kind of talk about the interview process, from job ad to how you communicate with them, whether it's Zoom meetings, in-person meetings, on site, at a restaurant, like how you do it, how you present yourself, what questions you ask, the timing. So there's a lot more that goes into it besides just like throwing a bunch of polls out there and see who sticks, because you're probably going to get bad quality if you don't have a good process.
Mm-hmm. Sean, what do you think about that? You see a lot of people's hiring processes.
I think that's, whether it's a difficult labor market or not, those things matter. If you're not interviewing properly and you're not a good leader, you don't have a job somebody wants. And this is one of the things that we do, and I am fundamentally a huge believer in, is researching your labor market. We never used to do that years ago because we just didn't know better, right? Until we got really good, and I learned a lot from a lot of people that were recruiting for 30 years, and they're a lot smarter than me. And so what we're able to do now, and I spend a lot of time every day doing this now for clients of ours, is I've got it dialed in, or we've got it dialed in, that I can pretty much tell you what your competition's up to, that I can tell you they're investing more than you are because they're getting more clicks than you are, or your wages aren't what theirs are. The only things that can happen are you're either investing. It's an auction. It's just like Michael's end of the deal. If you're only going to pay $3 per click and everybody else is paying, $8 per click, guess who's going to get the clients? It's exactly the same thing with recruiting. Who's going to click on your job? If it's not on top, it's because you're not boosting as much. It's an auction. That's really all it is. Or if all other things are equal and you're starting at $12 an hour and everybody's at $15 an hour, those are the ones that are most attractive. The easy way to look at it is if you can peel yourself from your ego and take a look at what you put up on the job board, which one of those jobs would you tell your son or daughter to apply to? It's that simple. I mean, look at it that way and then really be honest about it. And you need to change some things. So when we're able to provide that research to people, we've just really started hammering home on that about the last 6 to 8 months. And it's really, really helped people focus in and really understand, you know what, we do have a problem here. We've got to change some things.
Pay is a big deal. Forgot to mention pay. I'm hearing a lot of people say they've had to increase their pay just to get applicants. Like, not even, you can't even get to the interview process until you increase that base starting pay.
The other thing too is the job description on job boards are like advertisements. And what do advertisements do? We're going to give you this, and then when you come to us, guess what? We're going to actually do this, right? That's kind of what marketing is a little bit to some extent. And some people are more honest than others. So it's hard to compete against somebody that's kind of bullshit in the marketplace by saying you can make up to $1,000 a week. Although the average pay is probably $700 a week for 9 out of 10 people that work here, you can make up to $1,000 a week. Sounds pretty sweet. So you've got to compete against that type of thing too.
Yeah. So true.
My favorite is, and I just get this anecdotally from Sean every once in a while, which is when we have a client that's like, your recruiting doesn't work because I hired all these employees through you and none of them stayed. And it goes back to what you were saying, Michael, which is like, people just smell bad leadership. I mean, they experience it if you hire them, but like, they might smell it right in the interview process of like, This is not a place I want to work. We know the data shows that, it's kind of like going to a bar to date. Yeah, the pay is super sexy right when you apply for a job. Just like if you meet somebody in a bar, all you know about them is what they look like and maybe like the little bit of yelling that you do at each other over the music in the bar, but you don't actually know that person at all. So you just fill in the blanks, right? Like that's kind of the recruiting process a little bit, is like that's all somebody knows about you. But the minute you actually start dating, they find out a whole bunch of shit about you. And so if you misled them at all, or if they misled themselves, which can happen too, right? Things can fall apart quick. So you need to look sexy, right? But you also need to be freaking sexy, and you need to have some shit to back it up. Like you can't just look sexy and then be a piece of shit. Yeah, you might hire some people, but they're not going to stay. You just made a bunch of promises that you can't keep. And you're going to have that problem where it's like, well, I hired a bunch of people and none of them stayed. It's like, I have a great solution. Here's a sweet ass mirror that you can look into, and then you can go from there. And I think you'll figure it out, right? But that there's like two parts to it. There's the part Sean was talking about, which is like the sex appeal of that ad and being competitive and knowing what the labor market is. And then, Michael, what you talked about, which is once they come for the interview, like, and if you hire them, it's important that you don't suck.
Yes.
You actually have to be good. Mm-hmm. You actually have to be good, or they're not going to work for you, because they can actually go work somewhere for somebody that is good. So it's on you.